Oh, hi. Welcome to my kitchen. This is Coffee with Andreas, a new podcast we're trying for you to look behind the scenes of Dimitra and our work that we do around the world. And I thought it might be nice to have a cup of coffee with you together and my interviewees that come along today. I'm so proud to have a cup of Kipkelian coffee, one of our customers in Kenya. A cooperative union that is producing amazing coffee, and they're actually roasting and grinding a ready-made coffee for consumption in Kenya and beyond. And while I'm brewing this, I want to give you some quick updates from Dimitra. Our founder and CEO, John Trask, has been in the UN Council for Digitization of Agricultural Supply Chains for a few years now. And FAO, and the UN have created projects together that streamline the efforts around the globe, and we are part of that expert gremium. So from John visiting the UN in Rome to our ESG director, Carlotta Costa, to visit them is quite exciting for us as Dimitra, because the recognition we get as experts matches the reach that an organization like UN has. And quite honestly, there is no other service provider at the moment that has implemented technology at the scale we are implementing it in Kenya, in Indonesia, in Ghana, in Uganda, and around the globe in different nations. So that in and of itself is quite exciting. And another big milestone for us in Africa is our partnership with NACU, the National Association of Coffee Cooperative Unions in Kenya, and Kipkelion, whose coffee we're drinking today, is just one of those unions, but a very prominent one, because the director of Kipkelion is also CEO of NACU. And NACU has invited us to visit them for a signing, which I was part of and quite excited about. And we are now the national system of choice by NACU and their constituents around Kenya to digitize the Kenya coffee chain. That makes me extremely proud, because we have young local leaders like Kevin Nyakaru, our director of Kenya, who is doing such a great job inspiring local communities to take matters into their own hands. Today's episode is going to be exciting for me, because we're going to meet a person that I've been working with for the last 2.5 years, somebody that is by my side every single step of the way, and by the side of our team around the globe every single step of the way. Our one and only Sherif Badwy, our sales enablement director, who is here now to have a coffee with me in my kitchen. Hello, Sherif.
Hey, Andreas, thank you for having me. That was very kind of you. And I'm looking forward to that coffee. I'm hearing good things about it.
Well, the coffee is already poured. We have a wonderful coffee that was sent to me by Dr. Bet himself, the CEO of Kipkelion Cooperative Union in Kenya. And it is a cup that is very hard rivaled by other coffee that I've had. I don't know how to describe it, but it kicks like a mule. lots of strong flavors, lots of caffeine. I love it, especially as a first cup in the morning. So
That-
now that we want to meet Sherif, what I would like to know from you, Sherif, when it comes to coffee, what is a story that you can tell from your life that is special in terms of coffee experience? Can you share something there?
yeah. Actually, when you say that, I remember my introduction into coffee. So my father, huge coffee drinker. He's a big fan of Turkish coffee, which, for those who don't know, it's a way of brewing coffee. It's very strong. So he's coffee addict. He needs a cup of coffee to sleep. So growing up, I was always wondering what's so amazing about this brown brew. And I never liked the taste, but I thought, you know what, my dad's a smart guy. He's onto something. So when I started my first job, I started thinking, okay, you know what? Let's drink some coffee. I'm sure it does something to you. And I just hated the taste. So I ended up drinking my cup of coffee with 5 to 6 spoons of sugar. And a Turkish cup of coffee is this small. So it started tasting all right. 2 weeks later, I'm speaking to a client and he's looking at me. He's, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, what's wrong?" Apparently, because of all the caffeine and sugar, my eyes were twitching and they were going all over the place. And that's when that's when that was the moment I started to look for the right way to make coffee, or my way to make coffee. And it took me about a couple months to learn that I like the French press, right? But so that was my introduction into coffee. When I was 17, some twitching in front of clients led me to finding my favorite brew.
That's a great story. I'm sure some of us have tried the sugary kind. I myself don't like sugar in my drinks, but very, very interesting. So, how do you like your coffee today? Are you still drinking lots of sugar in it, or?
Absolutely not. My flat black, nothing goes in there. I like to taste all the notes that I can. And actually, in that adventure, because I used to hear before, like, oh, Kenyan coffee, Guatemalan coffee, I was always thinking, oh, sure, coffee is just coffee. But after that, I started to realize that the differences in flavors and notes, some being fruitier than others, but definitely black, no sugar. Um, Hard to swallow sometimes, but it gets you up in the morning.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And from coffee and having a cup with you, I actually want to know a little bit more about yourself and how you ended up at Dimitra. What drew you towards, yeah, what is Dimitra today? And tell us how you connected to John and the team.
I love that. I love that memory. Actually, it's I want to say it's a mix of a little bit of luck and opportunity seizing. Back in 2021, I was in between companies and I was doing some freelancing. And Dimitra was early on, and we were looking, or they at the time were looking for someone to help them on a couple of projects. And I found the opportunity. To me at the time, it was just like any other freelancing gig, until started to learn a little bit more about the company beyond that one project. The more team members I spoke to so that I could work on this project, the more I started to be attracted to, wait, hold on, these guys are all thinking about the same thing, not just about making the right technology, but everyone's asking the question, how does this help the farmer? How is this giving the farmer value first? And it just like, it amazed me because it was the first time I was listening to people talk about more than profit or the better system in the market, or it was actually about real value being delivered. At the time, I knew nothing about agriculture except that I eat food. But within that project, I started to learn a bit more and more about agriculture, how tech can help in agriculture, what Dimitra is actually doing with the farmers. And then one day I spoke to John and listened to his vision and thought, that's a vision I can get behind. It's a pretty articulate, well put vision. And from there, that's when I started to think to myself, like, okay, I want to be a part of what this company is doing. Um, let's see if we could take on a couple more freelancing gigs, until eventually John offered me to come on board, gave me the opportunity to come on board, and the rest is history. 70 countries later, we're all over the world. Team members speaking 19 different languages. I mean, I couldn't be more blessed.
Thank you for that. What I would like to ask is when did it actually register how it's affecting farmers? What was your first experience with farmers in a training setting where you worked with local people and their community? What made it even more clear that vision to empower farmers? Can you share an experience?
I definitely can. It was actually very, very early on in our coffee journey, when we still had, the basics of the application, and we started going out to speak to coffee farmers and cooperatives and exporters, and it was specifically a conversation we had in Ethiopia, with someone who is now actually working with us for the last 2 years to onboard almost 2 million farmers in Ethiopia. As I was presenting the application, and this was very early, my mindset was still, coming from purely software sales. My mindset was still in, hey, look at this great application. But it was that conversation with him that had me shift my mentality when he was like, Sharif, this is, he stopped me halfway through. He said, this is incredible, not because you guys have all these features, but do you know how disconnected us Ethiopian farmers are from the rest of the supply chain? We make the coffee, but we don't have a say or much influence in the rest of it. It's because nobody knows what we're doing. Nobody knows the name of the farmer, how we are improving the quality of what we have. And it was that conversation where it clicked with me. It was like, hold on, and this isn't just like nice to have data. This is, all these actions really reflect back into the livelihood of people who are making my favorite cups of coffee. So that was the moment where it clicked, and I think it also clicked with our Ethiopian partner at the time, because he's been with us now for the last 2 years, and 2 million other farmers are seeing the same value. So that moment still continues to inspire me. Actually, 2-3 years later.
Well, thank you for sharing that because inspiration is what is needed to get 2 million farmers or 5 million farmers around the globe, 10, 20, 50 million inspired to start taking this journey. So you shared with us that the simplicity of traceability and the awareness to use that data is also changing perspectives of the farmer. But how did it change your perspective as to what we're doing at Dimitra, as to how we can actually empower farmers? How did that experience change your perspective?
Right, right. So I want to say even that same experience also, um, made me realize, okay, yeah, I mean, people grow coffee here, people grow coffee there, but you're not going to help or enable these farmers if you try to tell them what to do or what the best way to do it is. Listening is the most important thing. And that's something we've been taking from day one. Whenever we start talking in a new country or to new cooperatives, and we although at this point we could, but we never claim that, hey, we're the experts who are going to show you how to do it. We have the vision and we have the know-how, or we have an idea of how to get there. But we work with our partners. I like to call them partners, not clients. Our partners to figure out the best way to get there. What works best for their cultural context? How is it best to transfer knowledge within the communities? It's not the same in Uganda as it is in Ethiopia. So really, really listening and becoming a part of the community in a way, um, really makes a difference in how we build things.
That's a very human aspect that you describe, and how can you change or implement that into software? That was my question early on. Yes, we can listen. Yes, we can follow the different flows and processes that each origin has in different ways. But how do we reflect that in an app? How do you listen in an app?
How do you listen in an app? I mean, you can't take the human aspect out of this business, I think, Andreas, right? So like we have the app, but the way to or we continue to build onto the app, and someone who's in the app at least like 15, 20 times a day, I want to say that I still get pleasantly surprised sometimes when I find, oh, hold on, this new feature is here today that wasn't here yesterday. And I know that was because of a conversation we had in this country and in that country. And that's the human
Yeah.
element I'm talking about. Everywhere we go, there is a human element. We work with the uh, we work with knowledgeable people who are embedded in the community, people who've done the cocoa farming, people who have done the coffee exporting. We look to work with them.
Now, this is an interesting one. Thank you for opening that line of conversation because um, there are technology experts, and we have many of them. We have data scientists, we have programmers, we have developers, we have designers. But the listening part comes from us truly wanting to understand the coffee industry and the coffee processes in each nation. And for that, we have um, our coffee expert Jan Michael Wernicke in our team, who's actually guiding us every day through these processes. And now the listening part makes sense to me as well. What you mean by that, Sherif? We listen, we transfer what we hear from the market, from the users, and take it back to our developers to implement new uh, new mirrors of a new process or a new functionality around coffee quality and traceability.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's all about listening, being part of the community, doing things in their
Yes.
context.
At the end of the day, the community is the part that needs to be empowered by our tools. Can you describe a moment of empowerment that you realized, for example, maybe working with our director of Kenya, Kevin, in Kenya to onboard Kip Kellyon again, which whose coffee we're consuming today. Can you share some experiences of light bulb moments, I want to say, of the digital pioneers that we trained there?
Absolutely. And I'm always going back, like Kevin and the team took so many amazing pictures that day. I always like to go back and look at those pictures because at the time I was virtually in the room, and there were, I believe, ten young professionals who were coming to learn how to use an application to collect data. That was the mindset, right? So you imagine, oh, a group of people waking up early in the morning, they're going to take a lesson at their job so that they can go out and do more work. That's how I envisioned them coming into the room. But when they came into the room, what I saw was 10 young, eager professionals who were so fired up to learn how to use this technology, which they are seeing as revolutionary, to work in their communities. And these guys, they registered, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but they were like within 8 days, I think they registered hundreds of farms. It was the fastest data collection that I've seen before. And that made me realize, wait a second, uh, people aren't viewing this as, oh, more work we have to do. These, these 10 professionals took personal accountability in helping their community of farmers continue to export. They took it so seriously. Were contacting me almost in the middle of the night, and I was happy to respond back because it was, they're not there just doing another job. They are there to revolutionize, and it really showed in how they asked their questions, showed up in the room. That was a very inspiring moment.
Thank you for sharing that and revolutionizing the supply chain. That sounds like a big
It does.
change. And us in the so-called developed world who have been grown up with different tools in the digital realm, we just don't understand sometimes how these basic functionalities around traceability, farm registration, quality management, and then the deeper tools into farm management, how they can really be perceived by digital novices, right? By communities that are just getting started on their digital journey. So thank you for sharing that it is perceived as something revolutionary. And your title of director of enablement, I take out the sales because you, Sharif, are the one enabling many people around the globe to become digital champions for their own communities, to take that pride and become a leader into the digital revolution of their coffee trade and coffee production. And that is by far the most amazing experience that I can have secondhand now, listening to your story. So thank you for that. Is there any other human story that comes to mind when thinking about your work over the last 2 years that stuck out?
I mean, everything is human based, right? Like everything, I have that opportunity really to, being in enablement, um, where most of my work is about the human aspect. So there's actually so many human moments. One short one I will mention as well is coming out of Ethiopia a few months ago or early on this year. We were doing this really big data collection effort, and I'm in different WhatsApp and Telegram groups with some of the people on the ground in Ethiopia. And these guys were, first time using an app to collect data, first time seeing their own farms on satellite images, but they got it so fast. They got it so quickly because they really wanted to, and they were out collecting data from day two. And I'm expecting, like, normally any new rollout, you have a lot of questions. So I'm expecting in our group to get some questions. I did not get a single question. I only got from many different people, Sherif, Dimitra, thank you guys for making this. This is changing how we work. Sherif, Dimitra, thank you guys. You guys really don't understand the effect that this is having and going to have on our communities, especially when we started talking about carbon credits. And it just blew me away. It completely. It's always because we know that what we're making is going to help the farmers and help the communities and the supply
Well,
chains.
it already is, Sharif. It's not just going to help, it is helping millions
It
of farmers
is,
already.
yeah.
And thank you for your work on that. We're going to switch over to a different segment now. We have some um, questions from the audience here. So why don't we dive into that? And please, audience, we are open to your questions. Ask us anything. Um, One specific question that came up is, how does Dimitra technology actually help farmers in real time?
Oh, in so many different ways. How do we start with answering that one? Well, first, I want to mention that, or I would say, step one, it makes them a big part of the supply chain. Now the farmer has a digital identity like the rest of the players. They're part of the supply chain. They immediately get tools in their hands that help them communicate their value to the rest of the supply chain. That helps them improve what they're producing by sharing the data of what they're practicing. And since EUDR is such a big topic, it immediately, just through that registration, immediately helps them continue their business or access their business in the EU, which is one of the biggest coffee markets in the world.
That's true, and it simplifies what is such a big regulatory um, challenge, right? It simplifies in just one single app that you can register all these data points for EUDR compliance, for example, within 90 seconds if you're trained on it. That makes it the peace of mind that I saw in the faces of the farmers in Kenya, for example, that said, "Oh, we didn't even understand what was asked of us, and now we realize it's this simple. Thank you so much." So the simplicity is helping every single day, taking the complex and making it into a an intuitive process in our app. I think that is one of the major advantages here. So there's a second question here that I would love for you to answer for our audience. What's the biggest challenge, Sharif, when explaining blockchain to non-technical audiences?
I'm going to take that as a trick question because why explain blockchain to a non-technical audience? Right? We don't need
Well,
to. Mhm.
how do you explain it as an expert? How do you explain it to an audience that has only heard about blockchain in the crypto world, for example.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. So I like to we should like to try to keep things very, very simple, right? So when explaining that, when bringing up blockchain, when talking about, um, it, we don't need to talk about all of the revolutionary ways blockchain can help, but I like to focus on one specific point, which is very important to the trade is trust, right? So the way I like to explain blockchain is it's a way to verify and ensure trust of your activity to ensure that the next person is going to trust your activities. It's going to, it's a way to share the data in a way that is not going to be tampered with, and the next person can verify it and trust it.
Thank you. That is a great explanation, and actually, that is the way we use blockchain today. There will be many more aspects in our functionality in our ecosystem that will use blockchain technology to, well, to create trustless environments where human trust is no longer required, but we can program trust into the chain. So that will be a hot topic over the coming episodes. And thank you for getting us started on that, Sharif. And one question that came in from our team chat is, which Dimitra project are you most proud of being part of?
Can't say all of them.
No,
That's not
the
allowed.
one that you're most proud of.
The one that I'm most proud of, I would like to say it's, although it's a long project and there's so much work to do here still, I want to say it's the project in Ethiopia. Um, because of, at least personally, how many communities I interacted with and heard from them their excitement on what they're about to embark on. When we went into Ethiopia, it wasn't, one, and this is what we're doing in Kenya as well. But for me, Ethiopia, I was very hands-on with the people, hearing their feedback, their excitement, how this person wants to, we started with 4 people being trained, and this person wanted to bring in their cousin, and that person said he wants to bring in his friend, and this one knows a guy. So that was very, very inspiring for me. And so that one I want to say I'm most proud of. Uh, Partly because the complexity, partly because of how, we're able to go around these hurdles, but also a big part is because that personal connection that I felt directly with the farmers and people working there.
That that speaks to you and your approach with our technology, inspiring people on the ground to take responsibility into their own hands and become digital champions.
Yeah.
And that is where I want to share one of the proudest projects that I can mention is, or the project that I'm most proud of currently is definitely our work with the government of Indonesia, where we not only digitize the coffee and cocoa supply chain, but we've also been tasked to look at other commodities and digitize them through our system. Most prominently out of Indonesia is rubber, palm oil, and soy. So that makes me extremely proud that we have gained the trust of a very, very dedicated government that said we need to take matters into our own hands, and we choose Dimitra as a tool. That, yes, it's a lot of work, and yes, we have a long way to go to build this for the government, but we're already seeing amazing feedback on that EUDR readiness, and that is at the end of the day what gets us up in the morning and gets us to work this hard. So, Sharif, I don't want to keep you from working because I see you're in a suit. I know we just exited a meeting together we had with the government of Uganda today. The government of Uganda has been working on digitization for the last 2 years, especially in the coffee chain, and we've been part of that communication and part of the team working on this and getting this done. Now, to close this as a last sip reflection, we only have one more question left for you, Sherif, and that is, if you could describe Dimitra's mission in one word, what would it be and why? One
You
word.
word. One word. Trust. It's trust. We're creating trust between the farmers and their buyers, between the buyers and the governments. And most importantly, we can't do what we do unless there's trust within the team. There's trust between the teams and the people that we work with. Yes, we have amazing technology. It's fantastic. I could talk about it for days, and you know that very well.
Yes, yes, you
But
can.
trust is always our goal. So that's where the mission resonates.
Well, thank you for that word. I would have wished you used a different word, but I'm going to use it because it's in your title already. I would use enablement as the mission of Dimitra because we are providing the infrastructure and the functionality around the people that need it the most right now, those that need more transparency into the chain.
Right.
And that enablement is what we do. That enablement is what you do every day, not only with our sales partners, but with each and every one of our digital champions in the client communities. So I want to thank you for all the hard work you're doing, for the inspirational trainings you give, for the demos that you do so well for our team and the external teams. Really, really an inspirational talk today. Thank you for sharing some of your coffee history and the Dimitra history. I wish you best of luck for the rest of the day and the week ahead. And I hope to see you sometime soon to talk about some other aspects of your work.
I'd absolutely love to be on. Thank you for having me, Andreas. I also want to say thank you to our entire team. It's never all the work that we do. It's always a team effort. Everyone at Dimitra has such a everyone really shares that mission and the vision that we just talked about. Everyone really does. So big thank you to our team and to the community as well. When we are in the room with the Ugandan government, the Indonesian government, whatever government or country around the world, you guys are in the room with us too. You guys,
Yes, and thank you. You're already teasing the next episodes because that's the team we're gonna meet in the coming weeks. And I'm looking forward to having another sip of coffee with each and every single one of you, and maybe even with some of you listeners out there. Um, Happy coffee drinking from Berlin, and I hope to see you very soon. Cheers.
see you soon, guys.